So we're going to use what the people have done yesterday. We're going to work on it. This is not it. This is the after. Something we'll do a workshop on art and philosophy. Yes, this room will fix it. Yeah. Catch some chairs. But in the first part, there's an exercise called to think the unthinkable. Think the unthinkable. Where basically, this idea of Wittgenstein that the limits of your world is the limit of your language. Right? And we all have propositions that we, for some reason, think they are the boundaries of our world. And why are they the boundaries? Because we think they're, we can say, absolutely true. They're certain. So they're like, you can call them foundations if you want. They're founding ideas because they're sure. But as well, you can call them limiting ideas because you can turn the world upside down. That's the limit you have. So think the unthinkable means think things I would not think because either I think the opposite or something radically different, right? So what we did yesterday, we asked people to write some propositions that they think are true. They're definitely true. And then we asked other people to look at them and to propose them some criticism, some way that they could think differently. Now, of course, either the criticism made sense and therefore it's useful, or it didn't make sense because it's weak, it's nonsensical, stuff like that. And then people had to say if they change their mind or not, right? If they change their mind or not. And then we asked people if, when they thought of each other on that, so they had two judgments to make. One was rigid, like somebody's rigid because, it was obvious he could have changed his mind, based on that, but he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to admit the possibility, it was rigid. Or there were people that were called nice. Now nice is the opposite of rigid. That means, you're too easy, if people tell you something, oh, I'll go with it, So you have to be neither rigid nor nice. But of course, you can imagine that the majority of people yesterday in this exercise were not nice, It was a little bit. I think a couple of girls were nice, but everybody else was mainly rigid, right? So I would like you to now go, see, you have these sheets of paper, we're going to work on this. You have these sheets of paper on the wall, yes. So on the wall, windows. You just go look at them, and I would like you to bring something where you think indeed the person either someone, either indeed some people wrote rigid, not, but you can make your own judgment. If you agree, I want all of you to find at least one place where either the person did not accept the argument, and he should have. You think it's fair, he should have said yes, it makes sense, or a place where he accepted and he should not have accepted because it doesn't really, it's not a strong critic. It doesn't open really new possibilities, okay? So before you move, does anybody have a question or a comment about this? Yeah?
Make sense has two meanings. Accepting or that you know the meaning.
Wow.
Yeah, we had yesterday.
Yeah, but that's the thing. With people, sometimes they're beyond your expectations. You don't know what to do about it. So what do you want from me now? I'm very careful.
But you know what way you use the expression make sense.
Whatever, it's a gift. See, speeches are a gift to the other one. And it's like when you're offered food, then you do what you want with it, you eat it, you don't eat it, digest, don't digest, and let it ride, you see. You like that?
Fantastic.
I made it happy. Apparently it's hard. Right, Eva? Okay. By the way, a little parenthesis, yes, what I had just done, unless there is some real... Tu veux dire quelque chose? J'entends pas. Oui, et si tu peux aussi ramasser les choses qui traînent là, hein? Ok. Regarde sur la table là. Mais si vous parlez tout bas, d'accord? Hein? Okay. It's a little technical thing. Generally, I have two things that I tell people, well, you choose, you pick. And then we'll see what happens, you know, we'll let it ride. Second possibility, which I use sometimes probably, I ask, does anybody want to answer this question, right? So depending, you know, I would, but I never accept, or very rarely accept to tell the interpretation of my own speech. I think it's for different reasons. Actually, I'll give you two. One, because the idea that the person in front, they have to take, funnily enough, maybe for you, responsibility for my speech. That's their problem, how they understand my speech. And secondly, I very insist on the idea that once you have spoken, your words don't belong to you anymore. So your intention, too bad, you know, it's too late. You've thrown the paper over the wall, and people pick it up, do whatever. So that's for these two reasons that you let people decide by themselves or ask the group to do it. Yeah. And that's sometimes teachers tell me, yeah, but how about if they understand wrongly? Okay, well, let's take the risk first of all, let's trust. And if they do, it can be very interesting. What's going to happen? Let's work it out. You see? So it creates space for thinking. Are you happy with the explanation?
Very happy.
Are you lost? You were supposed to lead us.
It was the wrong direction.
It was the wrong one. All right. Just come closer here. Okay. So, anybody else got a question or a comment? Yes. Okay. So if anybody encounter a technical problem, just, you know, you're catching the process in the if it started, you can ask me, right? But you should find at least one problem. One problem of rigidity or one problem of niceness, it doesn't matter which. You note it down, and then we'll examine them, right? But please leave the sheet on the window, okay? No, what you're going to do is look at the sheets of paper around you, and then you'll see after. Yeah? You look for a problem. Look at the sheets. If you see a problem, write it down.
We write it on the sheets or on?
No, yeah, because it's mainly writing the name. No, don't write on the sheet. No, they're full of things.
Yeah.
Once you have found one problem, you can sit down, huh? Just one. Who has found a problem already? Raise your hand. Some? Okay. So, if you have found one, that's okay. You can sit down, try to write what you think is a problem, and then we're good. Yeah, so we can after look at it, just say names and stuff, that's easier. Saint-André, c'est les... Hier, je répéterai sur les concepts qui permettaient d'interchanger sur les concepts. Okay, people try to find something. If you can't, doesn't matter. If you have no critical thinking, that's life. Okay, so everybody sit down. We're going to try to start. No, we're going to start. That's right. Okay. Are you pouting on us, Lena? You don't like us anymore? You know pouting in English? You know pouting? You know what pouting is? Pouting. No. Pouting. You know the word? Little Joseph. Little talk. How do you say in Russian? Дуешься. Дуешься? Okay. So, we're running out of paper, so I'm going to try to recycle this one. Never mind, this is the aesthetic exercise. But actually, it's an influence here. It doesn't matter in your exercise, and they see this. Or you want me to take it away? Doesn't matter? Okay, so after Sandrine, we'll do exercise on aesthetics. Yes. Okay, so who thinks now, first of all, who's going to turn off his telephone? Raise your hand. Facebook is not Facebook time. We should make a workshop on Facebook. I'm going to have to figure out how to make people happy. So, who thinks he has a strong case? Who thinks he has a strong case for this thing? Yes? All right. Nelson, you really have a strong case?
I think.
You think so? Okay. You're going to tell me the initial proposition.
Humans are mortal.
Okay. Humans are mortal. Humans are mortal. Now, I don't want all the critics. I want just one critic which you think the relation to it is not right.
Yeah. Humans still live in humans' memories.
In human what?
Humans
Oh, memories. Okay.
still live in humans' memories.
Okay. Human still live in human memories, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Can I continue? So.
Okay, it's the same argument.
So human.
Yeah.
Human are immortal, not mortal.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Got it.
Yeah.
That's just a formal conclusion. Okay. Okay. And what did the person accept or refused it? That's the whole problem. You know.
Refused.
I think his judgment is.
It was a refusal of the.
He refused the critic.
Yes.
He says. Did he refuse the critic? Saying, "Well, no, that's not."
There is no comment to
Yeah,
didn't.
there is.
Yes, there is on Richard.
Can
He
you show him?
It belongs to that one.
I'm not able to change my issue.
Did he refuse it or accept it?
He refused.
He refused it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, he refused it. You think he should have accepted it?
No.
No. Oh, so you agree with him?
I agree.
It's okay now, so we can sit down. I'm going to stop torturing you now. Violetta, you can come here. There's Igor, is someone next to you?
I was lost.
You were. Yeah, okay. No problem. Don't tell the whole story. Just sit down. I got a clock story already this morning. It burst my mind, you know.
It was found by me.
Yeah, no, don't tell the story. So, I'm allergic to stories. You know, especially clock stories and all the others too. You know? One of these, I'll write a book about clock stories. You know? Like all things, the clock is always late or sometimes early, but it's rare. So many clock stories always have as conclusion, I was late. Okay, so you think for him anyway, you think it's okay to refuse a critic? Makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yes, if he did. Okay, well, let's check. See, the point is to know if what? Oh, it's to know if indeed the critic. I should have put a different color. The critic here problematizes or not the initial proposition, right? In other words, did it take out the initial proposition out of its statute of absolute? No. You know, in a way, it can be considered false. Now, sometimes this, it's difficult to work it out. It's a bit what you're raising, but how can we accept? But here, again, I want to bring this Kant distinction, right, of the problematic apodictic and problematic. You know? That's rhetoric, I just state. Period. That's the way it is. Apodictic, I proved, like in mathematics, science, but problematic is what is possible. The question, and what is possible, if you want, creates, it's just some possibility that will shake some idea, which is the main proposition, right? And only one possibility, you know. And that possibility will say, well, that idea is not, initially is not an absolute anymore, right? You know, right? For example, on this mortal thing, I tell you this because maybe somebody will not bring that, but there's a classical one. It says, all humans are mortal. No, because Jesus Christ, who was mortal, who was human, sorry, is immortal. Oh my God, okay? Okay, therefore, just because of one, you cannot say it anymore, right? But here, that's not the argument. It's in a different way. But to see if it's acceptable or not. Same on the Jesus Christ one. I'm not saying you should accept it or not, but it's just an idea of how somebody could do it. Well, here the person says, No, humans are not mortal because, in a way, possibility is always in a way, you know? And if that way makes sense, then the initial proposition cannot be accepted. Humans still live in human memory. So, who accepts that this critic problematizes the initial proposition? Raise your hand. Who thinks not? Raise your hand. Okay, good. So that's fine. Now we diverge on this matter to see if it's an appropriate critic or not. Okay. So who wants to say first why you think it's the appropriate critic and it should be accepted and not accepted, not refused? Okay. So who wants to start?
If you define being alive as being part of the history, then you are still alive as long as people...
In this case, being alive would mean being part of a history or sort of
History.
of a
Take part
history.
in history.
Okay, if you belong to history, to be alive then means to belong to that history, right? Was that the initial meaning of the person who wrote the statement, humans are mortal? Is that what he said? Was that his definition of alive?
Probably not.
Okay, what most likely was his definition of
Physically,
physical what?
physical living, his body.
Your body, okay? Body. So we have two concepts here. We're going to call it, it's based on the body, right? Presence of the body, and here, presence in history. Is that okay this way?
Yeah.
Oh, here. These are the concept, right? Presence of body, here. Presence of in history. Now there's always two parts to this. First of all, to conceptualize. I say conceptualizing is a good way to understand a problem. And second, if that conceptualization is okay. In other words, you know, are we legitimately replacing one concept by the other, and still we can call it, you know, we're still dealing with the same thing. We can say, therefore, we're dealing with, again, the fact it's not mortal, right? So, you think it's legitimate to go from one to the other, or no?
No.
Oh, so you would refuse that criticism.
Yes.
Then why, since you use the life as presence in history, what's wrong with it? Why do you refuse it?
Well, because when the initial statement quite clearly has another definition.
Quite clearly, yes, has another. What is quite clearly? That's a fun thing.
Well, I could know it even I'm not in his mind, and I think everyone would agree with me that that would be his definition.
Yes, and that definition you think is sort of sacred. Is that what you're saying?
So it seems like I'm saying that, yeah.
Yeah, you have a sacred conception of people's work, yes? Yeah. It's called possession. Okay, fine. Who agrees with Anne? Raise your hand. Okay. Who does not agree with her? Raise your hand. Okay, check with someone why you disagree.
Yalla, why do you disagree?
There is no clear definition of mortal in the first sentence, so there is no reason to accept one or another clear definition of that.
That's it. So for you, there's no clear definition.
Yeah.
What she calls clear definition, you don't see it, right? Right?
Yeah.
You don't see it. Do you agree with her? There's no such a clear definition in the initial statement.
No, I think it's clear.
Really? Well, tell us, because poor Yeva, you know, she's blind, she sees nothing. You know, so in these three words, show us the clarity of that definition. Please explain.
Well, it is
It's what?
the common sense of the
Okay,
use.
the common sense, right?
Yes.
But common sense, does it capture the totality? Does it exhaust meaning?
No.
No. So it's only a probability of definition, but maybe there are others that would make sense.
Yes.
Oh, it's not so clear anymore.
No.
No, and clarity, you agree that the way we hear you would exclude another definition.
Yes.
But can we accept that other definition? Or no?
Yes.
So it's not so clear anymore.
No.
So, therefore, why do you refuse the replacement proposed by the critic?
Because if I criticize him, a statement, I have to choose how to interpret it, and I should choose the most obvious.
The most obvious.
Yes.
But if you choose the most obvious, I mean, another one is possible.
Yes.
Legitimate.
Yes, I do.
So therefore, it's problematized.
Yes.
So the question is, if it's not, doesn't make sense, it's not possible. If it here, no, or it's, you know, for some reason, but here, the way you speak, you seem to accept that's a possibility of looking differently at the concept of mortal.
Yes.
And therefore, you can say human are not mortal,
Yes.
only by shifting the meaning of mortal,
Yes.
but in a legitimate way. Yeah? Because when I say, well, mortal means to eat spaghetti. And therefore, well, you know, some people don't eat spaghetti. That you would not accept, right? Some can accept anything, but here, can the shift in the meaning of mortal make sense?
Yes.
Okay. See, by the way, one of the things to understand this exercise is to understand that any statement has an if in front, right? If mortal means that, for example, then that. But if mortal means something else, then that. But the question, of course, what you're going to put as meaning of mortal has to be something that makes sense. And that's the whole question of making sense, right? So, finally, do you think that indeed we can accept the critic by saying simply that it's another acceptable definition of mortality?
Yeah.
So now you accept the critic then?
Yes.
We're good?
Mm-hmm.
All right? Who, like Anne, accepts, think that fits that criticism? It fits and it problematizes a proposition. Raise your hand. Okay? But you know, who does not accept it? Raise your hand. And ask someone why you don't accept it.
François, why don't you accept it?
You belong to the François Club, right? You know, there are two clubs in this seminar. The François Club and the Francis Club, right? No problem. I just want you to know which club you belong to. You're the François Club, right?
I like to swap.
You like to swap. Oh, you're okay. You want to be everywhere. These control freaks, they want to be everywhere. You know? So, okay. Yes.
Yes. Anyway, if we admit this, well, history is mortal too, because it will disappear.
Okay, let's put it in two ways, okay? Because I think now you're going on the other side. But do you accept, first of all, that that history, mortal here, the shift in meaning is acceptable?
Oh yes.
This is acceptable, huh?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
So let's stick to, for a minute, I see the other angle, but first just on the shift of definition. Who refuses the shift of definition, say, for some reason it's not acceptable. And remind me, François Francis, if I forget, to come back to your angle. What?
Also don't choose.
Well, I don't want to hurt the feeling of people in this room who prefer one name or another. You know, I'm very sensitive. I do caring thinking now, you know. Yeah. So, caring, creative, empathic thinking I do now. All right. So, I'm having a metamorphosis since the castle and the lady cooked herself or something. So, Alex, yes. Why you don't accept the shift in definition?
I don't accept the shift of definition because the person who said this statement meant...
He meant already. So for you, you go back to the initial idea, there is ownership, there's copyright on your statement, and the copyright does not even belong to a person, but to his intention. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So when people speak, the true meaning of the statement is the intention of the person.
No.
You give up that one?
There is
Oh no, is there a problem?
we do
here?
have the intention.
By the way, this point is a very important point because it's a very common thing. People give interpretation of the painting. You know, I don't know what he really meant. Now, just for fun, I have a principle that nobody knows what he really means, and especially not the one who done it. You know, let's put this aside. So, second try. Why you don't accept the shift in meaning? Unless you think finally you accept it, then you can change your mind if you want. Or you're lost.
No, not last time.
So you accept it or no, the shift in meaning? Can the fact of being alive or mortal, can it be defined as just a presence in history? The way you would say, Napoleon is alive. I don't want to scare you, it doesn't mean he'll go to Russia again, but Napoleon is alive. Is that okay with you or no?
No.
No, you cannot say Napoleon is alive. How about Alexander II?
No.
Either. Okay, just checking on the nationalist aspect of it. Yes. So,
They
no,
are
why
not-
not? Why not?
They are not alive because they are physically dead.
Yes, but are you taking a restrictive definition of life and death? That's the whole issue that we're trying to raise here. In other words, is this possible? Does it make sense? You have another conception of life and death, which means presence in history. Where you could say, well, Napoleon is alive, but the guy who has planted this tree 150 years ago, well, he's dead. Well, oh no, because you could say the tree is. Some guy lives there, I don't know. Does that make sense or no? Okay.
Yes, it makes sense.
So you're okay then?
Yes,
Huh?
okay.
Yes, you accept the shift in definition. Plausible?
Yes.
By the way, plausible. Do people know the word plausible? Anybody has a problem with the word plausible? No? Plausible? Can you say plausible in Russian or no? Yeah. You don't plausible is like somebody tells me, somebody's late. Okay. He wants to tell me a story, and he told me there was a rabbit in the middle of the road that spread his legs apart, says, no, you don't pass, right? So, well, it's a very nice story, but it's not very plausible, right? And somebody told me that there was a clock, and somebody came and took the clock, and it is, well, okay, it's not a very exciting story, but it's plausible, maybe it could have happened. I still give it benefit of the doubt, So plausible is like the limit of the acceptable, right? And just under this, forget it, makes no sense, right? It's like, okay, got it? You have a word from Dutch for that?
Plausible. It's the same.
What are you doing? Ed, you got me on this one. Oh God, he did this to you yesterday? No. What a vicious pervert. And I think you the worst. Anyhow, it's plausible, right? Now, all we're asking is that it's plausible, right? That it makes sense. Nothing more. Nothing more, nothing less, right? But of course it could be not plausible. Come on, what are you doing? For example, yesterday, was a bit more scientific, which so fun, this thing, but you probably saw. About the planet, the sun always rises on the east, right? And somebody refused it, they had to examine, finally we said, no, we cannot accept it, this is not plausible. The sun cannot rise on the east. Okay. So, in this case, so it's plausible. Okay. Anybody refuse the plausibility? And from this standpoint, who thinks we cannot accept the shift in definition? Is the shift in definition? Anybody? You cannot accept it, yeah? All right? No, makes no sense.
No.
It's not plausible. Plausible.
No.
Why not? Okay, last thing, then we move on to the argument of François Francis. Yes.
I think the difference between presence in history and somebody who lives is too big.
Yeah, but do you agree that some definition have a vast area, cover a vast area? Do you You agree with that? That sometimes definition can be very wide.
Yes.
Yes. So the question is not to know if that can be to be alive. For example, I'll give you. Can you say, Willem of Orange is still alive? You know, or no?
You can say it.
That's all we're asking, right? Then what is the conception of alive in this case?
That people can think about the William of Orange.
So presence and ministry, we're good?
Yeah.
So are you okay with that? Now we're not asking you to be enthusiastic, that that's the best definition, that's all, if it's plausible. See, that's the whole problem of possibility, why it wraps our brain. Because it asks you to stretch it, right? And possibility goes all the way up to just the limit where it becomes impossible. See? Just a slight thing, like a little red line, but just after it becomes impossible. But if it's possible, right? Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah? Yeah?
Can I try to say why it's not a good idea to shift?
Yeah, it's not a good idea. If it's impossible, again, you come back with criteria. What is the best? What is good? What is popular? What is... No, we're simply asking if indeed... Let me give you an example again in mathematics. Somebody tells me, I say 2 plus 2 equals 4. You know, is it always 2 plus 2 equals 4? And that guy says, you know, there's a tribe where they have 3 numbers. You know, 1, 2, and many. Well, in that case, 2 plus 2 is not 4. 2 plus 2 equals many. Now, I'm not asking you to shift to that system, you know. It can be very interesting, but it would be a certain problem, you know, if we had only 1, 2, and then many, right? But the point, what is the interest here? To see that we think, in this case, we're stuck in a decimal system. We don't even realize, we don't even think it. It's so obvious. And we never think we're stuck in a decimal system. Even though we're not stuck in decimals, it's not totally true because we do other operations which are not, like the clock operation, which is circular and duodecimal, whatever it's in English, right? Duodecimal, right? But we don't think, we don't realize that there is an if in front of our statements, right? And so the whole point of this is to find what are the conditions, right? So that's when we're asking for something good. I think what is good is 2 plus 2 equals 4. But what is possible is 1, 2, and many. It has, you know, an existence, right? You see what I mean? So that's why I use the concept of plausibility. Possibility, possible. So is it plausible? I'm not asking if it's good to speak this way. I'm asking if it's possible. It makes sense. In the context of the language, in the context of the meaning, can you think it's acceptable or no, not acceptable? I've always said to be mortal means to play poker. You know, so, well, you know, I can't take it because it's a specific blah blah whatever. You know.
If life also means present since history, it doesn't contradict the idea of.
Wait, are you asking a question or proving?
I try to prove that.
To prove, okay.
To prove that both meanings can coexist.
They can coexist. So what? If they can coexist, what are you proving?
That they're both right. No.
Well, then we're good.
Yeah, no.
We're right. You see, by the way, I wish in all this you see yourself thinking. You see? We see how we think. And here we touch the limits of how we think. And that's what I like. That's what I call it thinking the unthinkable. We touch the limits of how we determine validity, truth, and everything else, right? It's weird, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you okay with this, or no? You want to prove it doesn't work?
I can have the memory.
No. I want to know. You want to prove it doesn't work?
I'd like, yeah, I want to prove it.
Yes. Okay. Last chance. Okay, go ahead.
I can have the memory of somebody dying.
You can
physically.
have the memory of somebody dying. Yes, that sounds like fun. And what about it? And what are you going to do with that? Well, first of all, he's dying, he's still alive, right? Just, 2 seconds before dying, he was still alive. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and plus you have memory, so what do you want to prove with that?
That's humans are.
We suffer, look at that.
Yeah, okay, I'll leave it.
Okay, so I probably we give up on that, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Maybe, tomorrow you'll find the absolute answer, say, oh gosh, I had it, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, just don't worry. But someone here has another angle of attack on the problem, so why don't you tell us your argumentation here?
Well, even if we humans remain in history, history is mortal, because civilizations disappear, and so your memory will vanish.
All right. So even if we accept the fact that life is present in history, history itself is mortal because of vanishing society, because whatever happened. Therefore, the criticism doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who agrees with that new angle on refusing the critic? Raise your hand. Who does not agree? Raise your hand. Okay, ask someone else why you don't agree.
Irena?
The memory, the civilization can be mortal, but the memory can be kept in the books.
In the books. So there will be no more civilization, but books will be there, right? Yes? What do you think of that, Francis?
Well, I don't think it destroys. The book will disappear anyway.
Books will disappear anyhow.
And how can you call
Even
it
Facebook?
memory? Even Facebook?
Books will disappear.
Facebook
right?
will most
Think
likely
books can
disappear faster than the
All
rest.
Books, yes, everything, yes. You think that's possible, Lena, that all books disappear? Or no, not possible.
It's possible.
So, therefore, can history die? Can civilization disappear totally or not?
Or it's
Try to answer my question. Can civilization disappear totally or not?
totally
No, totally.
not,
Not possible, yes. Why not?
because it can be kept on the tails.
On the what? The tails.
Tails.
The tails, like, tails.
Fairy tales.
Okay, fairy tale.
In epics.
In epics, okay, in stories, all right?
And
So anyway, through stories, there's always some memory staying, all right? Who agrees with Elena that there will be always traces anyhow through stories, or something staying? Who agrees with her? Raise your hand. Okay, I think this is illusory. Raise your hand. Oh, why people thinks your tail thinks the tail is a tail, Ask them why you don't agree.
why did
Well, you said that memories can still continues in epics, in stories and so on. But if there would be no one to tell these stories and no one to listen to these stories, so this will disappear. So
Is it true
this
that
will die.
stories need people to tell them, need people to listen to them? And can all these people disappear or no? Or it's not possible? I'm not saying it's going to happen, I don't want to scare you, but I saw your eyes suddenly say, oh my God, I'm going to write the letter to my mother before this happens. So, do you think it can happen or no?
it
It can happen. But you had not thought about that.
Yes.
You had thought about it.
No.
No, you had not thought about it. It's okay, you're all right.
Yes.
Yeah, you're okay. It's bad news. But now you accept it could happen.
Yes.
And therefore tales will disappear.
Yes.
And all traces then disappear.
Yes.
So therefore history is mortal too.
Yes.
Who agrees then with this idea that history as well is mortal? Raise your hand. Yeah? Put your hand. Who think not? History is not mortal. Okay, then ask someone why history is not mortal.
Yeah, I think that here is the line of plausibility. So
Why is
it's
that?
beyond.
It's beyond. You think it's, yeah, why, explain why that makes no sense.
Because too many conditions, yeah, we have to add in.
Yeah,
So
we have to add too many conditions
yeah,
up to a point where it's just beyond plausibility, right? It's too much.
yeah.
We're recreating the world or something. Yeah? You know, it's like the kids do this, you know. Can this happen? Yes, if the Martians come, you know, okay. But then if the Martians come, everything becomes possible, you know, this sort of thing, right? So, of course, because you can always put conditions that make that something is possible. Always possible. If we lived in a different world, where squares would be circle, therefore, squares can be circle, right? So you have to be careful with what I call the gratuitous hypothesis. You know, like, did you prepare the exam for today? No, because maybe the exam won't take place. You know, oh sure, okay, it could be called wishful thinking. You know, of course you can always think of a reason, and we all know that. We all heard it. We probably all use it. Reasons which are, you know, okay, fine, but they have no foundation, right? So that's interesting. Now then, you guys have to see if you agree or not with Igor. But Igor is saying, well, look, there's so many conditions that have to be put together for this to happen that, come on, let's be serious. You know, this is not likely. Francis, do you agree with him or no?
No.
No. Why not?
Because some civilizations have already disappeared.
Okay, some have disappeared. Just let's go with that.
Disappeared.
Igor, do you agree that some civilizations have disappeared?
No.
No. Can you give, well, okay, say why.
Because we don't. If some civilization disappear, to believe to it, we have to have some statements, some proofs.
Yes.
As soon as they disappear, there are no proofs. So maybe they will not exist. So
You're just losing a logical argument for Francis, you know. If they really have disappeared, we have no proof. That's an interesting one. Okay. So you suspect him of using a free hypothesis, you know?
yeah.
Like the story of Atlantis, you know? Yes, there was a super civilization, but
by the way, we still have story about Atlantis.
yeah, but
So
stories
it is
like-
in our memory. If
But
it
you know,
existed.
story in English has different meaning, including the one in bullshit. You mean the whole story thing. You made up a story. Yeah.
I have a question.
The question about the exercise?
Yes, about the concept of humans that we are using, because we shift from humans to civilizations.
Yes. Well, do you think
are
civilization are
opening-
human or no?
Civilizations are not humans. There is a distinction.
See, you know, it sounds me like these movies, you know, where the dubbing is not so good. So you have people doing things, and then the sound come afterwards. And then the sound comes. Interesting. Gives Chris some cognitive dissonance. So, are civilizations human or no?
I think
But you
civilization.
just try yes or no on this one.
No.
No. Wow. Well, they're not human. What are they?
They are single men and women.
Yeah, but I mean, they're single. Don't do this, Lucas. I'm not able to play workshop.
Okay, forget about it.
No, there's two ways to destroy an animator of a discussion. One is to get angry at him. The other is to, you know, to say, to disarm him. You know,
Human and civilization are the
You're
same.
disarming, Lucas. Not what to say. So come on. So, are these men and women human or not? You have to follow Italian landscape.
Yes.
Yes, they are. Okay, I was scared for a minute. Wow, my mind was touching its limits. In human men and women. Okay, not human. Okay, are you okay? Now, because but your comment is interesting. Is how much in the discussion can we shift? In other words, when we shift from human to civilization, are we okay? I mean, are we, is it legitimate? Or no, we have trespass. We say, wait. So, okay, but finally after reflection, civilization and human goes together or no?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good, huh?
Yeah.
And that's the difficulty of judgment, right? When is it you're being fooled in a discussion because there's been a shift in meaning and that's not acceptable, or okay, it's an interpretation that fits, right? So, all right, so let's just, who thinks, yeah?
No, you were supposed, I think, to ask a question. I want to answer.
Wow. Yes. When this happened in class, I was like, yes, I was going to ask then who knows the date of birth of Henry IV, so please tell us. Funny, huh? Yes. But why do you raise your hand so quickly?
Because I was afraid.
Okay, you were afraid. That's the reason. Why did you raise your hand? Because I was afraid. Okay, where I come from, when you're afraid, you just hide. You don't move your hand. But in Norway, you're afraid, you can't go. It's a sign of fear. No problem. Cultures are very have different codes. It's funny. Okay, no problem. Makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so let's go now. So who accepts the idea of Francis that civilizations are mortal? Put your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who does not accept it? Raise your hand. Okay, so the group decides that civilizations are mortal, therefore the critic doesn't work, because even though if you replace the meaning by presence in history, as well this dies, therefore the critic does not operate, and it should be refused, okay? Now, independently if you thought it should not be, it's maybe the process, what we have done, how it's happening, the conclusion. Does anybody have a problem with the process itself? Something you don't get or seems strange, you think I fooled you or whatever you want, you raise your hand. No? Everybody's okay? Yeah? What is the problem? First name the problem.
With the process is that I think that we have the room for this thinking only because we do not precise this if before the statement. So if we do this, then the statement is an absolute.
The statement is?
The statement is an absolute, there is no room for these discussions.
Yeah, but, okay. Who wants to answer, who thinks there's something that should be told to our friend here based on what he said? Everybody raise your hand. Ask someone to, what he wants to tell you.
What would you like to tell me?
The funny thing is, we don't know what is after the if. You could put a if, but it's unclear what is the premise in these 3 words, the sentence with the 3 words. So it's impossible to get clarity about this if. There are many options. What we could do is just agree upon what is the if.
Yes.
Just say majority here in the group says that's the if. But then that's something different than getting clarity about the if in this sentence of 3 words. We don't know.
Does I have you or no? Generally, if you have to think too long, it means no, right? But that's okay, no problem. Who else wants to tell something to Alex that could help him?
I think the purpose of this exercise is precisely to work on the if and to see how much you can stress. So how long you can, so you work on the if.
Mm-hmm. So you understand what are the if possible, etc.
Yes. So if humans are meant by civilization, is the statement acceptable, etc. So we're working precisely on the if, I'd say.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah? Choose someone else that wants to tell you something.
If is a conditional, so it's open to possibilities. Therefore, it cannot be defined, let's say, a priori before what the next sentence will be.
I think that comment is interesting because the problem I find in a number of cultures, in some it's funny, it's not as much of a problem. For example, in Russia I find this problem. It's the idea of constructivism, you see. The if, nobody can come and say, I'm going to tell you the if beforehand, right? So what we're doing is an experience that you can have when you have to make a judgment, you personally, but we did it collectively to see how it can function. But this is constructivism. That's why the a priori is fundamental. It cannot be done a priori. See? A priori can only give you some common sense, right? But common sense presupposes many things, right? As you said, common sense, be alive, means your body's there, right? But the question is, how much are there these presuppositions? Can we examine them? And that's, you personally do it if you write or if you think, or in a group. What we're examining are what Kant calls the conditions of possibility. You understand this concept of conditions of possibility?
Yes.
Yes. We examine what are the conditions of possibility of such a statement, right? But maybe somebody else will come in 5 minutes and say, hey, there's another aspect of this you didn't see. For example, when we were debating on what is mortality, disappearance, physical disappearance, or let's say psychological disappearance, this way. And suddenly, Francis came up with another angle on this. Say, wait a minute here, even history itself. So somebody will come and again give another angle on this thing. Right? So you cannot a priori. In fact, if you try, you might get a lot of it, but I think you can never exhaust. That's not the idea of exhausting. You can never exhaust the condition of possibility. Right? You might, a little bit like what the exercise on security, Were you done with on security? And the statement, of Ivan saying, never mind how many people were passing the balls. It doesn't matter, right? How many were there, The point of the experience that you can never exhaust reality through your perception. It always escapes, right? But you can, of course, try to figure out things to get closer, or whatever, Okay? But don't look for some solid ground where that's it, we've done it. The complete works on mortality sort of thing, right? Okay?
Yes.
And let this ride in your mind. Okay, so basically the group says, did the guy here refuse it? The guy, the woman, did he refuse the critic here?
No.
He did not accepted it?
No, didn't. He
Did not?
Oh, sorry. He
The
refused
person on the
critic.
sheet there. Can you look, Lucas? Did he accept or not the criticism? Or he doesn't say?
He didn't accept.
He did not accept.
Not accept.
He did not. Does he say why or no?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But he did not accept it. So from our standpoint, he was right to accept it. If he would have accepted it, it would be nice. But he did not accept it.
Which is wrong.
Which is, in our exercise, at least, it's do what you want to do at home, but here it's wrong. Yes.
Because I read the same thing, and there was a reason why he didn't accept, and I wonder if it's okay, because he
Yeah,
said,
tell us. What is it?
Sorry, I'm not able to change my initial statement, since no counter-argument provides any any argumentation of the issue at stake, because death as it is defined.
Okay, well that's the... See, we agree with the conclusion, but here it's a rigid argument, right? I have defined it, we come back to the thing. And that's a very common thing. And as we saw, There's no definition of death here. But that's funny. Since there's no definition of death here, who can say why the person says, I have defined it? Who can tell? What's going on here? Anybody? Yes.
His statement belongs to him, so he considered as intention.
So where is that definition? Where is it?
From this intention.
So where is it? Where? Where is the place?
No, in this place, no.
He says it's defined. Where is it defined? You know?
In his way of thinking.
In him, right?
Yeah.
Is there a definition here?
No.
No. Right? That's funny. He says the way it's defined. Well, thank you, my friend, that you have your dictionary in your head, but we don't see a definition. And that's what the trap we got into, right? Say it's defined. No, it's not defined, right? It is used. That's a big difference. Now, it's not forbidden to be used. In fact, people like Wittgenstein will defend the use versus definition. Why not? But we should not confuse usage and definition. It's two different things. So if it's used this way commonly, okay, something like that, fine. But defined? No, it's not defined. Yeah?
So is this definition in the head of the person who stated this, or is he referring to a kind of common sense?
Well, yeah, okay. That was maybe, but anyway, there's no definition. Then we should say the way it's used. But definition, what's interesting in that statement is the person talks about definition, and again, we went through this with Anne, but it's a common thing. It is defined. No, it is not defined. All right? Used, we can accept, right? Defined. Okay? And in fact, to problematize in general is to go against common sense very often. Very often. That's what it is. That's the history of philosophy. In that sense, common sense is, in a way, almost the enemy. You know, when in Plato you find a lot the idea that the obvious is the enemy. And the obvious is the common sense, right? So again, I don't want to make common sense is not some kind of absolute foundation, right? It is both useful, but as well it can be the problem. And in this case, common sense was the problem that stopped him from seeing other things. But so he refused it, but for us, the way we saw it, he refused for the wrong reasons, right? Yeah.
But is this man or woman rigid? Or is it...
Well, in this case, there's rigidity. Yes, do you agree?
Rigidity.
Do you see rigidity here or no?
Yeah.
Or is it...
No, do you see it or no?
No, I don't see...
Okay, who sees rigidity here? Raise your hand. All right. You know, maybe for you it's hard to see rigidity for some reason.
Or is it just the wrong thing?
But maybe for you it's hard to see rigidity for some reason. Okay, here. Okay. So anything about the process itself? Yes, okay. So you get it? So, well, let's move on another one. Who saw another interesting problem where you think the person took the wrong decision? Who saw an interesting problem? Okay. All right. So, why don't you tell us, Ivan? What was the initial statement?
The initial statement was, I can think, and then the argument was...
Wait, hold on. I can think?
I can think.
This was the initial statement?
Yes.
Then you're going to read us a critic.
Yeah. And the critic was, are you sure it is you who is doing the thinking?
Okay. Are you sure?
I can think. Are you sure it is you who is doing the thinking?
Okay. Did the person accept the criticism or not?
Well, I didn't find any...
Oh, there was no... Okay.
I don't know whether it was...
The person didn't say.
I don't know. I didn't find it.
Yeah?
It's right here.
I know. What are you saying, Anne?
There is some comments on
Okay, go. If you saw it, tell us, Anne. Tell us, especially the person accepted or not the criticism.
She does not accept.
She does not accept. Why not?
Yes, because I thought that I can think. It's proof enough.
That's the answer to the criticism?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read it. Give it.
I I know, I thought that I can think.
I know, I thought.
That I can
Wait,
think.
hold. I know, I thought that I can think. That's the answer?
It's more.
Yeah?
It must be a thinker to come up with a statement.
Okay. It must be a thinker to come up with a statement, huh?
Yeah.
So the person refuses a criticism.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know
The answer is
You had not seen this, Ivan? You had not seen that answer?
No.
Okay. But it doesn't matter. What do you think now? See, in other words, the person refuses the criticism, right? Yes. You agree?
Yeah.
Do you think that person is right to refuse it, or that person here is rigid?
I think he's rigid.
He's rigid.
She's rigid.
Okay, she's rigid. Can you explain your case, the case against that, against her?
I think that she didn't really think deeply about the criticism.
Okay, but what makes you say that?
Because the criticism, are you sure it is you who is doing the thinking? In that question, and it's my take on that, he's distinguishing two yous. One you.
Who are the two yous?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
The one you who is observing, and another you who is doing the thinking.
Okay. So this person is convoking a sort of schizophrenic perspective, where there's a you observing, making a judgment, yeah,
on you thinking.
Yes, and the person who's thinking. So like some self-conscious principle.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. So you think that indeed would provide a real criticism, acceptable criticism on the initial statement.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Okay. Good case. But how does the person answer? You notice the answer of the person? Here, it's written here.
Yeah.
Can you read my writing? Or I know I thought that I can think. It must be a thinker to come up with a statement.
Yeah.
What do you make out of that answer?
And in that answer, I see that she's collapsing I who is thinking and I who is observing the thinking in one I. Therefore, she's not even listening to the criticism.
Okay.
Because it's given from the different context.
Okay. So the doubling up that is proposed is not heard and not dealt with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That you see there, sort of blindness to the critic. We good?
Yeah.
All right. First of all, just on the general conclusion that this person is rigid, who agrees with Ivan? Raise your hand. Okay. Not many. Who does not accept that conclusion? Raise your hand. Okay. Pick a person and see why he does not agree.
On?
Well, first of all, she says, if we keep now the you and, the thinker and the speaker.
Okay.
To make it easier. The speaker say, I remember doing the thinking. Yes, I know, I thought I can think. And anyway, whether the speaker is just like a speaker, like a microphone or whatever it is for another person's thought, the voice coming out is still thinking. Yeah. If you divide, if you
Tell you what, why don't you, because I think you're running different hairs at the same time on this one. What is the main point where you think Ivan is wrong and it's a good reason to refuse a criticism? What's the main point? Just one.
to say, I remember doing the thinking.
Okay, that person says, I remember doing the thinking, and that's a proof. Your business that there's two of us doesn't work. Because I have a memory,
Yeah.
I remember doing it. We're good?
Yeah.
Yes. Now who agrees? Just on that statement. I remember doing the thinking. Who indeed thinks this can be acceptable? I remember doing the thinking. Raise your hand. Who has a reason to refuse this? I remember doing the thinking. Raise your hand. Check with someone else. Why you refuse my statement?
Oh, okay.
I think that this statement does not refuse the criticism because...
No, just don't mind the context, just on that statement. I remember doing the thinking. What would you have any reason to refuse that statement? In itself?
Because it's subjective.
It is?
Subjective.
And so what? Explain.
So it should not be a proof.
Yeah, but
so I may make a mistake.
Okay, I might make a mistake.
I may have an illusion.
It might be an illusion, I might
Dream.
remember badly. I might have dream. True or false?
True.
So I remember doing the thinking cannot be accepted as something definite.
No.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so we give that up.
It was not my critic.
Well, I asked you, what is a statement that you would have, strong statement you would have, against the position of Ivan. So let's try something else. Give us some statement that you would use to throw at Ivan. Yes.
Yes, Ivan said she doesn't recognize his statement, the difference between the speaker and the thinker.
Okay, Ivan says the person doesn't recognize the duality, right?
Yes.
You think that's true or false?
False.
The person recognizes the duality.
Yes.
Show us here where it's recognized.
She recognizes it because she argues for the one.
Read it. Tell us where you see that. The exact where you see it.
I know, I thought, I can think.
Okay. You see there the doubling up. You see the duality. Or no? You see it?
Yes.
Okay. There, for you there is there, yes?
Yes.
And in the way the person says it, what is the duality? Is there's three I, so you have three maybe there. There are 2, 3, 1.
Three.
There are 3, right, so it's beating, the 2. There are 3 people now. Really? Yeah? Okay.
No.
Well, no. We have 3 I's. Are there three positions? Or are some reducible one to the other?
No. By defending
Yeah. You like to set the agenda, huh? What does that mean?
If you say.
If what?
If you say so.
Well, that's exactly, you see, that's a proof. If anyone tells you, if you say so, if that's the way you want it, translation, nobody's going to tell me what to do. You know that? Do you know this?
If you say so.
Thank you. Just for fun. Do you like to set up yourself the agenda?
No.
No, you like to go with other people's agendas.
Yeah.
And in fact, people that have been working with you, that's true or not, but they will say. And you blew it! Look how happy this guy is. After a few days of common life, some issues that are coming out, right? Maybe that's what you share with Ed in common,
Yeah, we are friends.
Yeah. Nobody tells me what to do, sort of thing, Anyway, so, I'm asking you a question. Are there indeed this doubling up that Ivan mentioned? Is it present in that sentence?
Yes.
Yes. But even are there 3 instead of even more than 2? Are there 3? 3 seats for the 2, but then 2 eyes are in the same one. You agree there are 3 eyes here?
Yes.
So if there's only 2 positions, 2 eyes are in the same position.
The 3 eyes.
Do you follow me?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm asking you?
Mm-hmm.
Means no, so I'm checking. What am I asking you?
You're asking
Ivan's getting nervous.
whether the 3 eyes in the statement refer to different eyes or not.
How many positions Ivan says there is?
2.
2. Do you agree with him?
Yes.
So how many eyes is there?
3.
So, we have a little arithmetical problem here. Try yes or no. I know it's horrible. I understand.
Yes.
There's a little problem.
Yes.
How do you solve it?
the first I
Yeah.
refers to the one speaking.
The one speaking. Okay. The first I is the person speaking.
Yes.
Now, who's the second one?
The second is referring to the thinking person. The thinker.
Well, it is. Oh, okay. The speaker. First one is speaker.
Yes.
Second one is a thinker.
Yes.
We good so far?
Yes.
You happy?
Yes.
But why do you have your fist clenched like
Well,
that?
I'm showing them. Speaker, thinker.
Do you realize you're trying to be faster than me? You see you're trying to preempt? You notice or no? Don't put your heads down. Ah, you make me nervous if you keep that up. You know what? You relax. Tense like that. Tense. It's a game. You know what? Yeah, I mean, yeah. No. It's not a game. It's serious business. Oh, first one is speaker.
Yes. Second one is thinker.
See, trying to get ahead of me. I was starting. You notice I was starting to tell you? Did you notice I was starting to tell you?
No.
Wow, you often do this?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try again. First one is speaker, okay?
Yes.
Second one is thinker, okay?
Yes.
So we already have two positions.
Yes.
Now, who's the third one?
The third one is justification of the two first being the same.
Who both understands and agrees with Anne's statement now?
Both at the same time?
Both. Yeah, both, because first you have to understand. Okay. Well, let's see, who understands it? Raise your hand. Let's start with understanding. How many people understand it now? Looks like the robot, you know, in the movies that's been a bit hit by a bullet. It wants to rise again. You know? Better be not Torrance. Anyway, now let's do both. Who understands and agrees to both, to her thing? Who does not? Raise your hand. And who has no clue? Raise your hand. Do you have a little pedagogical problem?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Anyway, so, but at least the two are there, so you think.
Yes.
Now, do you agree with her that in that answer later on, let's never mind the third, but at least there's recognition of a duality here?
No.
No. Show it. So the three eyes are the same ones.
I was just listening.
I had a hard time with this. Do you think the three eyes is exactly the same eye?
Yes.
Explain.
Anne said that first is a
No,
speaker.
no, never mind that. Just you do it. Show us there's no difference. It's all the same eye.
Well, it's just, I was going to refer that the third eye justifies that the first two are the same.
No.
Okay.
We have a hard time with her.
Yeah,
Please
okay.
start afresh.
So,
why are these three exactly the same?
I think that all three of them refers to me as a thinker. I know.
All three.
Knowing,
Wait. All three refer to me as a thinker. All right. Knowing.
I know.
Are you rushing?
Yes.
Wow. You see it? You see it here? You see it with Ivan?
Yeah.
Or you see it with yourself?
Yes.
Yes. As
We're
much?
friends.
We're friends. It's a club here. Okay. All right. So we look at the verbs: knowing, thinking. So it's all the same person thinking, right? So you think it's the same I. Good. That's your statement on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Who can specify? Now we have a clear thesis. It's knowing and thinking. So Ivan says it's the same thing. Who thinks there's a distinction in here and can prove to Ivan in that statement there is a distinction? Ask Ivan, ask somebody. Friend is good.
Which one?
Friend. With friend, you're not taking the risk.
I'll stop there.
It's a good way to set aside.
There are three positions in time. I know.
Okay, just that. See? There are positions in time, right? Do you agree there are positions in time? Look, just look at the sentence.
Yeah.
So, by the fact there is position in time, can you imply there is at least some kind of duality?
Well, that's different duality. Yes, there is duality
Can
in
we
time.
imply there's a duality just because of the difference in time?
Yes.
So, at least it's not one, there's duality, okay? Good, yes. So, where's the problem then? Well, you don't know for now.
No.
Okay. Who has a problem with this person here? And the refusal of the critic? Please speak much. Okay, go on.
Yeah. Not the same type of.
Go with yours. Go with yours.
Okay. In the objection, there are a kind of duality. There are different people, different positions.
Right.
And in the counter-argument, it's the same people, the same subject, yes, in different time. But the position is one.
Now, here, you see, there's an interesting problem here, epistemological problem. Thus, the difference in time implies some ontological, existential difference or not. See, that's a very... Because there you have, again, the Heraclitus Parmenides thing. You know, Parmenides, you never step your foot twice in the same river, right? Time, in other words, makes a difference. And when you think about things like Leibniz monadology, things like this, where precisely the idea of, he says it can never be the same, because the topos, the place is not the same. And don't forget, time, first of all, time implies generally a change, the place difference, but even in itself, time, the chronology, is a form of topology, right? The fact it's before or after implies that changes because the world has changed. Even if you were the same at two different moments, because the world has changed, your relation has necessarily changed to the world, so it cannot be the same. You follow this, right? Now, I'm not asking you to tell you this is the truth, but just to raise the issue that if you go with the idea that it's the same, you have to understand that that's not obvious. You know, that it can be easily defended that, you know, before and after, there'll always be a difference. And as Igor said, after, it's a memory. You know, I was doing this yesterday, well, there is memory involved. And memory is subjectivity. Now, that doesn't mean it's false, but it means that there's another component coming into that you can be making a mistake and a dream, lots of things, right? So that's very important to understand that time can, it's not necessarily, but can make a difference, right? So, in this case, do you think the time issue makes a difference or it makes no difference?
In this case, timing issue is not making a difference.
It's not making a difference. No. Tell us why.
Okay. Because we can understand the criticism and the objection, the argument and the criticism without going in this split, in this issue. It's clear enough without why did more.
Look at the criticism. Do you think the criticism is about the time issue?
No.
No.
Right.
But is the answer about the time issue?
Yes.
Huh? You think yes?
Yes.
Yes. So therefore, if that's the case already, you think maybe it's not answering.
Yes. Yes.
Yes? So you say there's something wrong here because the answer to the critic doesn't deal with the critic.
Right.
If it's not a time issue, the criticism, what is it about?
It is about...
I want a concept here. It's not about
alterity.
Alterity. Otherness. Otherness of what? Because time could be a form of otherness, could be a form of alienation. So, otherness of what? See, what is it in that criticism? What is the nature of the otherness? What do we call it?
Something who dominated me without me aware.
Let's try to conceptualize it.
Yeah.
Who can conceptualize here the criticism? It's not a time issue. What is it about, Lena?
It's about reflection.
About reflection, right?
How I think that I was thinking.
Okay, it's about reflection. By reflection here, just do you mean like consciousness? Is it when you think about yourself? Is it consciousness or not?
Yes.
We okay?
Yes.
Awareness.
Okay, let's go with reflection. That's fine. Let's go with reflection. So here, the person is raising a problem of reflection. But why would the reflection engender reality or duality?
Because in one time, because one reality it's rethinking process, and the other I have to know how I was thinking.
Okay, in both cases it's me.
Yes.
But there's a problem. In English, reflection, you can reflect about the whole world. In this case, it's self-reflection.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It's more specific, okay? In Russian, reflection means about you or not necessarily? The word you use in Russian.
About me.
What's the word in Russian?
Reflexive.
Okay. Oh, it's like reflexive. Okay. But English reflection is to reflect, you know. Okay, so self-reflection, okay? Good. So here, it's about self-reflection, right? And you can think about the fact you think, something like that, okay? It's about self-reflection. And in that sense, introduce doubt about oneself. We're good?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay. For you, is that a good criticism?
Yes.
Yes? And do you think the person deals with it in his answer or no?
No.
Why not?
Because she did not answer how she know. How she knows that she was thinking.
Yes. Now, for fun, look at the second part of the answer. Can you read it?
Yes. It must be a thinker to come up with this statement.
Yeah. What do you think about that statement?
She speaks about the result, but not about the process. How do you know?
Okay. Result and not process.
Yes.
Who has another analysis of that answer question? You raising hand, Violetta, or scratching? You raising hand or scratching?
Excuse me, scratching.
Scratching, okay, fine. Igor? No. If you raise your hand, raise your hand. You're scratching, Alright, so Igor.
To come up with a statement doesn't prove that you was thinking.
Why not?
Because you may just repeat somebody's other statement.
Okay, you might repeat somebody else's statement, yeah? Who's the person thinking in that statement? Look. Who's the person thinking in that statement? Who's the subject of the thinking?
The one who answered.
Where do you see the grammatical subject in that sentence?
Yes, no, nobody knows. Yeah.
Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. So if nobody knows, you're not defending the fact you're thinking. Maybe it's a neighbor thinking in that sentence, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it's a funny discrepancy, right? Mm-hmm. Supposed to defend the fact I think, but you just well, you know, there must be a thinker someplace, right? Right? But there must be a thinker someplace. Does not imply I'm the one thinking. Mm-hmm. Somebody done it, but not necessarily me. All right? So I propose that we're gonna just finish rounds of people if you have new arguments to add, and then we decide if the person was right or not to refuse the criticism. Okay? So who has any new argument in favor or against the refusal? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll listen to those 4 arguments, then we decide. Igor.
I think that the person who answered was not rigid, he was nice.
Well, he refused.
Yeah, but he was nice because he don't have to answer this question, because I recognize this, the criticism, because I recognize it as rhetoric.
Okay, it's rhetorical.
Yes, it's rhetorical. Are you sure?
Yes.
There is no question, can you prove, or something like that. That's are you sure, which means you may criticize anything, asking this kind of question.
But is there a hidden criticism in that statement? If you, for example, see the way you say, could you make a sentence out of this with it's rhetoric, so there's a hidden content. Can you make a statement out of this? Yes or no?
Do you have...
No, a statement.
Yeah, yes.
Not a question. Can you make a statement out of that? Or no?
Let me think.
It's okay. Or you cannot? Okay, you cannot?
Yeah, you don't have...
Can you make a statement?
Yes.
Yes. That's scary. I know what's happening this morning.
You don't have any proof that you were thinking.
You have no proof you were thinking. Suppose that would be the